Hey everybody, I'm working on this X5 XDrive 35i 3.5 liter I. It's got this, the 2011, it's got this twin power turbo engine in it, and we think the starter's bad. So I'm going to show you how to test to see if the starter's bad. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this off, we're going to take the air cleaner off so we can try to access to look at the starter, because the starter is underneath the intake manifold on this. So let me get some of this stuff apart and I'll come back. Alrighty, now I went ahead and I took the air cleaner assembly out of the way, and I also took the inlet hose to the throttle body out of the way. So on the regular 3 liters, the manifold is wider on the cars, and this is why I made this super long test light to be able to reach down there to probe the signal wire to the starter. You have 2 wires on the starter. You have the big positive that comes off the battery, it's hot all the time. Then you have another wire that goes to the start post on the solenoid. So I wanted to make sure that I had power on that wire that goes to the start solenoid. So on this car here, I was actually able to get a mirror and reach up behind here, and I was able to find that wire. My hand's on it right now, and I wiggled it. And as I wiggled it, I saw that wire is actually right here. It's this white wire next to this red and black one. So I took my test light and I probed this wire and had somebody go inside and try to start the car, and I had power on this wire. So that means I am getting power to the starter to make the starter work, but the starter is not working because the starter's bad. So now we need to get the car inside so I can go ahead and take the manifold off. All right, so we're finally back on to doing the starter in the BMW. It's been a couple days later, but I want to go over something with you about this car that is kind of strange, that I don't understand why they changed it. This is a 2011, I do believe. Well, on these cars here, it's got the electronic shifter. That electronic shifter will not shift out of gear with a car not running. So what you're supposed to do on these cars is you take this out of the cup holder, and then there's that plug. And inside that plug, you're supposed to insert this tool, and it'll shift the car into neutral. But this doesn't work on this year. The earlier years had this tool, and you would put it in the hole and turn it. But now, there's nothing there. There's a place in the trunk for this tool, but this car didn't come with one because it doesn't work. So on this car, to get this car neutral, you have to climb underneath it, take the belly pan off, take a 5mm Allen head and screw an Allen head bolt in, and that pushes a linkage that puts the car into neutral. I will show that to you after I get the car up in the air, because right now I have it, I need to re-engage park in the transmission. All right, so now we're underneath the BMW. This is the 5mm headed bolt that you have to tighten, and what that does is it pushes up on this piece of linkage here to shift the transmission into neutral. So before I do anything, I'm going to go ahead and put it back into park. Just loosen the bolt up until it's right there. And that bolt stays right there for the next person who's got to shift it into neutral. And now you can put the belly pan back on. There's a belly pan here. And also too, I do believe that when you do this and you go inside, it puts the electronic parking brake on automatically. So you have to disengage it if you want to roll the car. So that's how you can put these cars into neutral if the car won't start because of the electronic shifter. So now I'm in the back of this one, and this is where that tool is supposed to go, but they don't give you the tool because you don't need it in this car. You have to do it the way I showed you by crawling underneath. Now here's another thing too. I'm not 100% sure if the car automatically puts the parking brake on for you when you shift into the neutral and come back in and turn the key in. The parking brake might have already been on when the tow truck dropped it off. So before you even think about putting this car into neutral, be sure you have the wheels chalked and the parking brake set. All right, most people won't be doing this anyway, so you don't have to worry about it. But just in case, you want to be very safe, because this car could easily roll away and hurt you. So do it at your own risk. So let's continue on with doing the starter. So now we have to disconnect the battery. So on this car here, the battery's underneath this panel. So there's Phillips screws here, 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 and in here. And once you get the Phillips screws out, and this panel lifts off, and there's the battery. I'm going to disconnect the battery next. All right, started taking more stuff apart. So the first thing I did is there's a piece of plastic that goes over here that was already broke up. Somebody broke it. I didn't break it. Then there's this insulation here that sits down underneath here. I disconnected this, peeled this up. I took this air boot off. I've been disconnecting various plastic pieces, and I got the wire harness here pulled up. I'm gonna go ahead and start taking the bolts out of the manifold here to see if this thing will rock back far enough so I can get in there to get to the starter. I hope so. All right, I got all the nuts off the manifold up here, and there was a one bolt here. So then the next thing I did is I unplugged. There's a bulkhead here that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 electrical connections. So I unplugged all 6 of those electrical connections because some of them run over top the manifold and it is really tight. So now I'm gonna try to lift up the manifold and pull it back to see if I have access, because you don't wanna take this manifold off if you don't have to. All right, after I got all the electrical connections off, there was enough room for me to lift the manifold up and push it over. I have a bungee cord holding it back, and as you can see down in here, there's the starter. And like I said in the other video, this is the start wire right here. It comes off the starter and then wraps around here and comes back out, and that's where I was able to probe it to see if I was getting the proper signal to the starter. So now all I have to do is get in there and get the, take the nut off the main power cable, take this cable off. There is a bolt that comes through here, which comes through the firewall backwards, and then there's one that goes through this way. I do believe they are reverse torque sockets. So let me get in there and get those reverse torque sockets out. It's going to be hard getting the back ones, that very back one that comes through the other way, because there's a lot of wires and stuff in the way. I might have to pull the manifold a little farther forward, but we'll see. But there is the starter. And you want to be careful not to drop anything down into the intake ports. I took an air blower and I blew all the debris and leaves off the manifold before I took the manifold off. On the bottom bolt of the starter, I was able to push the manifold over and go in there with my really long extension with a chrome universal to get the bottom bolt out. That bottom bolt came out real easy. It's an E12 reverse Torx. Now on this back one, I got the socket in there and I got my Matco ratchet that flexes. I was able to get that on there, and then I had to use my piece of pipe to give me the extra leverage to get it out. We have these wrenches that are supposed to fit everything, including the reverse Torx, but they just fit so loose and they're so tight. I'm scared that these are going to strip them out. So now that I got it broken free, I can probably go in there with this and get the bolt the rest of the way out, because there's the ratchet is kind of hard to see, but right behind that wire loom, that ratchet is pinned against the firewall. So now I'm gonna have to get that ratchet out now that I got it broken free, and get a ratcheting wrench in there to get the bolt the rest of the way out. All right, I now got the starter out, but I wanted to go in here and show you something that, and their wonderful wisdom, I don't know what it is, but there's the starter hole. And on the left side of your screen, you see this wire that runs out and then runs through this plug. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but that might be the RPM sensor. And if you notice, center of the screen, there's that bolt there. That's the bolt for the starter. So when you go to put that bolt back in, you want to be sure that you do not break that piece. I don't know why they put it under the starter and mounted it like that. It makes no sense to me. So just be careful when you put the starter back in that you don't break the bolt. And then there is the location of the upper bolt that comes through. I don't know why they made it so long, but they did. And of course, what happened? I got the starter out. Here's the starter. They sent the wrong one. So now I have to wait to get the right starter. So it's another wonderful day here. So we had to wait for the new starter. So I got the new starter down in the hole. And like I said, man, this flashlight's way too bright. The lower bolt on this is right above that crank sensor piece, and I don't want to break it. So I was talking to the Matco man when he came here, and he told me that all the guys buy these 1/4 inch E12s, swivels. So this is going to definitely help me get that bolt in that lower hole without busting anything. So we're going to continue on. We're going to get the bolts in. I got the back bolt started. I was going to buy a set of reverse torque wrenches, but they're on back order right now. But he says they're pretty inexpensive. They have a brand that is pretty inexpensive. They get 5 wrenches, and I'm going to have him order those for me. Hopefully they'll come off a back order. So let me continue putting the starter in. Actually, I'll probably end the video right here. So then all you have to do is bolt the starter back in, put the positive cable back on, plug the signal wire back into the starter, put the manifold down, all the manifold bolts, get all the wiring back over. I thought it was on a bulkhead, but it's actually on a computer. And then put it all the rest of the way back together. So I think I'm gonna close this video out because this video is probably too long anyway, and nobody's gonna watch it till the end. But if you did, I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe, and please give me a thumbs up on how to put a starter in a BMW. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. All right, well, here's a bonus video to the very end of this video. Yes, this 1/4 inch swivel made it so much nicer to get in here and get that lower bolt started. Even though the bolts are aluminum, I was able to put some air conditioning putty on so the bolt wouldn't fall out. I was able to sneak this right back in. It's skinny enough to where you don't hit anything, because the other socket that I was using with the 3/8 drive was just binding up on a bunch of stuff where you might break stuff. So yes, if you are gonna start working on BMWs, you need definitely buy an E10 reverse torques swivel 1/4 inch and a E12. That's what they buy. That's what the Matco guy told me. All right, so little bonus. Thanks for watching.